So who did it? Local company? Or is there anyone local who does it?
Okay. It's 7 o'clock, so why don't we begin? We're here at the, for the public meeting of the Danvers Planning Board. We're here at the Toomey Room at Danvers Town Hall. It's October 28th, 2025, 7 p.m. My name is Lou George. I'm the chair, and I'm joined here by our clerk, Jean Hartnett, members Jim Sears and Mike DeCoulis. So, and we're also joined by Josh Morris with town staff. So why don't we look at the agenda here. We do have a couple of items here that are we're looking at continuances, but let me begin with the first agenda item. Is a public hearing, 200 Endicott Street. Request for site plan review submitted by Raising Cane's Restaurants, LLC, for property at 200 Endicott Street, map 62, lot 5, pursuant to section 4, site plan review of the zoning bylaw. Said property is in the commercial 3, C3 zoning district. The applicant proposes a standalone restaurant with a drive-through and associated site modifications. So, Josh, it's my understanding we have a request for a continuance?
Yep, that is correct. To our next scheduled meeting.
Okay. And so that's a request to our next scheduled meeting, which is November 12th, 2025. And we'll make a note of this towards the end as well. So because of the Veterans Day holiday, where our meeting is moving to Wednesday, November 12th for our next meeting.
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, so anything we can talk about with respect to that is just still in waiting mode?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Very good. So, so there's been a request for continuance to the November 12th, 2025 meeting. Can we have a motion on that? Motion to continue?
I make a motion, we continue 200 Endicott Street to our next meeting, November 12th, 2025.
Okay, motion's been made by Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mike DeCoulis. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Next item, number 2 on the agenda, is a public hearing with respect to 83 Elm Street and 5 Essex Street. Request for site plan review submitted by MJP Properties, Inc. and Johnson Construction Management, LLC, for properties at 83 Elm Street, map 51, lot 250, and 5 Essex Street, map 51, lot 249, pursuant to Section 4, Site Plan Review of the zoning bylaw. Said properties are in the Danvers Town Center, Core, DTCC zoning district. The applicant is proposing a redevelopment of the properties with a mixed-use building consisting of first-floor commercial space and 13 residential units on the upper floors and associated site modifications. And Josh, I see this has been this looks like the applicant is requesting a continuance to the January 13th, 2026 planning board meeting.
That is correct.
Okay. Anything further on that one? Can we?
Don't have an update. I know that, they were just trying to, from our hearing regarding the special permits and the waivers for the project, I believe that the group is just in the process of just modifying or updating the site plan to reflect, the 16 units of the 13 units and associated things with that, so.
Okay. All right, so that's going to be going to, so then moving into so that'll be in January 13th, okay? All right, and so let's with respect to the request for a continuance, can I entertain a motion to continue this item to the January 13th, 2026 meeting?
I make a motion, we continue 83 Elm Street and 5 Essex Street to the January 13th, 2026 meeting.
Okay, motion's been made by Jean. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Mike DeCoulis. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, so our third agenda,
What's the date of the meeting?
it's
The 12th, right? Or they want to push to January?
Yeah.
January,
13th.
January 13th.
Wow.
Yep.
Are
So,
they able to do that?
Yeah, I mean, it was their request, so that wasn't, that's what they submitted to our office, so.
Okay.
I know that it is a decent amount of time from now. I guess what I would comment is that at that time, if there's another request for continuance, I would have someone from the development team here to at least give an update. So that's what I would say.
I would say, why don't we?
Yeah.
Why don't we make sure
Yeah.
that if we can make sure
Yeah.
that for that meeting, if there is any indeed, they would,
Yep.
we would need them to come and
Yep.
and sort of give a status.
Yep.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because normally it has to be, 90 days?
There's no there's no set. I mean, obviously, it has
Well,
to be.
when they first start, though, they have to, there's a certain time period.
There's a certain time in which, when they apply, they have to be on a meeting or a public hearing has to open, but there is not there's no set time in which a decision has to be made. It just, especially particularly since they are requesting for the time. Now, if they were saying, obviously there's a little bit of discretion and reasonableness with it all, but, if they were asking for, significant more time than that, I think we'd be getting into I'm not really sure if that's
Well, our last
appropriate.
meeting was August.
Right, but this was,
They weren't on that, they weren't at that, so it's been months. It'll be months. Like
sure,
4 or 5 months.
sure, but they did appear on a couple, they did appear on the agenda for a couple meetings that we had between then.
Right,
There's-
requesting a continuance.
Correct, right. It wasn't like they'd asked for continuance for 4 or 5 months and then again, another 4 or 5 months
Yeah.
it has been,
But they don't get time barred at some point?
no, I mean, obviously, at some point, like I said, in January, if we're at a similar situation, I think it's probably appropriate to have someone come in and give us an update of what's happening.
Did they give a reason why?
No, they're not like necessarily required. They're not really required to either. But I think they're just, it's. I don't really want to say too much about it because they're not even here to kind of respond. So, but like I said, if we're in a similar situation in a couple months, I do think it probably would be appropriate to have someone from the development team here to answer questions.
Now, just a question, just for clarification's sake, because I know the special permit, which has
Yep.
been granted for the, in
Yep.
terms of number of
Yep.
units, that has a certain time period, doesn't it?
Yep. So the decision was filed. The decision is required within 90 days of the close of the public hearing. So that has occurred.
Mm-hmm.
So I made sure that lapse did not occur. So we're okay procedurally from that standpoint. The decision's been filed.
Duration of the special permit, however?
Oh, it's 3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
So so in terms of any work anything that matches up with the special permit needs to fall within that.
Yeah, they have 3 years to exercise the rights or, act upon the decision within 3 years of the date of the decision, which was probably sometime in September, like September 18th or 19th. So, I don't think at this moment staff has concerns, but obviously in January, I think that we should get an update if they're not ready to have a decent discussion about the application. So,
Okay.
I think that's where I sit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little unprecedented in my experience. I'm just concerned that maybe they're trying to market the property to somebody else with one of the approvals or something. Or I don't know if they've lost interest in going forward because they didn't get the number of units. That's just a concern.
Yeah, it's hard for me to, they, as the applicant, do have the ability to ask for a continuance.
But yeah, I think they have to give us a reason. They can't just keep continuing it. And it's one thing if we're going to continue to the next meeting.
Yeah, right,
We're pushing it off 3 months.
sure.
It's a head scratcher right there. After they invested all the time and money in the presentation and, we gave them what we thought was a fair shake. I don't know, I feel like I'm being used a little bit. Our decision is, without a valid excuse that we have to go do a certain test or a certain survey or a certain whatever.
Right.
They're just basically leaving it out there for, time to maybe shop it around maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure we want to set a precedent.
I don't know I don't think that necessarily is a precedent by doing it this one time. Just say, I mean, it's like a special permit, right? Just because you approve a project with a certain number of units or everything is particular, right? I don't know if I would necessarily view it in that way, but I'll read out loud the continuance letter. The applicants and the development team are diligently working on site plan revisions to comply with the planning board special permit issued for this project and comments received. To allow sufficient time, we request that the site plan review hearing be continued to the planning board meeting of January 13th, 2026.
Okay.
So,
I mean,
They've already had 3 months to do that. It's too late, I already voted.
yeah. So I was gonna say, I think we did vote to continue it, didn't we?
But I think,
we did.
But no, like I said though, hearing the concerns
Yeah.
on just January 13th, if we get a letter like this similarly, I will reach out to the development team and
well,
communicate strongly or that the request, and we don't necessarily have to do the date. Like I think we have the ability to do it to the next meeting, right? This is just their request. Like we could make
But
the
we
motion.
could move to reconsider the vote on the previous article. If the rest of the board feels it's worthy of discussion, I mean, I don't know. I just think they've had several months. I think they were disappointed in the number of units that they got, but I mean, for them to, basically, they said they weren't gonna change the size of the building, they were gonna make the units bigger.
I thi-
So what's taken months to do that? It doesn't seem justified, at least in my mind. I don't know what the rest of the board feels.
Let me see. Gene, what are your thoughts?
Have they been in communication with town staff?
Not too much. No, not too much. I guess I would just make comment in that we did continue it, so I don't know if we can continue to like keep talking about it.
Well, could we, if I move to reconsider the vote, we set precedent for that at that meeting. So,
I, yeah,
I don't believe that we
not sure if we
yeah,
want to go,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I would be of the
Yeah.
mind of advising, of advising the applicant, not in January, but advising them now.
Yeah,
of
sure.
concerns
Yeah.
that we have about the length of the,
Yeah.
of the continuance. We've granted it, we've granted the request for the continuance, but with the caution that they be aware that we have concerns about the passage of time. And so
Yeah.
that it's not quite like in court when you get it, when the judge issues a drop dead date pretty much that says,
Right.
we're granting it, but no, but any further continuances are granted with, will only be granted based on extraordinary circumstances. I mean, I can't say that, but I think we want to be able to
That seems fair, and
convey the message
Yeah.
that,
I can-
of the concern of that.
I can certainly do that, for sure.
Would
Like-
the special permit be pulled back if they didn't do that? Like, what's the next step, I guess?
Well, I mean, the special permit has a duration of
Right,
3
but I
years.
guess if we're saying we want them to come for this January 13th, and if they choose not to and ask to continue, what's the ramifications?
At some point.
Well, I think it's more, to me, it's more of a matter of, I would want them to, as I think similar to what I think Jim was saying, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but we want them to be able to, if they do
What's the reason?
want another, if they do need additional time, we need to have an explanation or at least a status update of what's going on,
Which is certainly appropriate.
to be able to justify.
Can't we
any
just
further-
ask for that, like, in an email before then, if we're that concerned about it?
What's that?
Can we ask for that in an email before?
Sure,
then to
I
get
could-
an
I could
update at,
reach
like,
out-
the next meeting?
Yeah, I
mean,
could reach out. Yeah, that's fine. I could reach out and maybe at the next meeting or two, would give an update that they respond to, or, yeah, I could do that. I'm not sure if they, what they'll provide, but I could do that.
Yeah,
Like I said, I don't know how much we can and should talk about it since we did continue it, and they aren't here.
Right.
But I'm hearing what,
I
I'm
think
hearing
it's
what
a- I
everybody.
think it's a planning board, it's more of a administrative decision that we're making. We're not talking about the merits of the case.
Sure.
I think that, we haven't closed the public hearing. We're talking about, we didn't open a public hearing, we're voting on administrative. And therefore, if we wanted to, I think we could reconsider the vote. At least, I would move that we reconsider the vote and have them come to our next meeting, which is next month, and explain why they need an additional 3 months on top of the 3 months that we've been waiting for them to come back. Because I don't feel that they're not giving us a reason. I think they're just trying to shop the project to somebody else, because they're disappointed they lost 3 units, personally. And I don't think that's a good precedent for them to do that and kind of make us wait. So, does anyone, that's my motion, I need a second.
Okay. Jim's made made a motion to reconsider the vote on the continuance. Is there a second? There's not.
Okay.
Okay. So nonetheless, I think, Josh,
Yeah.
we do ask that
Yeah.
they to reach out to the applicant and to advise them to, in terms of the concerns that we have with respect to passage of time, and we would request an update as well.
Yep, I can certainly do that,
Okay.
and I will do that.
Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is the public hearing with respect to 18 Electronics Avenue. It's a request for site plan review and a parking waiver submitted by Democus Propco LLC for property at 18 Electronics Avenue, map 32, lot 49, pursuant to Section 4, Site Plan Review, and Section 10.1.d, waiver from Section 10 of the zoning bylaw. Said property is in the Industrial 2, I-2 zoning district. The applicant is proposing to construct an approximately 1,800 square foot sewage treatment building with associated site modifications. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. If you could introduce yourself and
Certainly.
give your presentation, please.
Connor Nagel, site civil engineer with VHB. On behalf of the applicant, I have with me here Nick Katsas, who's with Old Neighborhood Foods, the applicant and owner-operator of the facility at 18 Electronics Ave. We're not proposing any change or increase to the building. It's the use or the intensity of the use, the size of the use. What we're proposing here, do you have the graphic, Josh?
I had the site plan, or what we're referring to.
There were 2 color renderings that we submitted.
I don't know if I have the renderings. I just have the civil set.
Yeah, the civil set will work
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Yep. I was just looking at it. I don't know why I was giving me problems.
So we're proposing a sewage treatment plant, which is that shaded area that you see. That plan there is a split page blow up of 2 areas of work for the project. That shows the overall site. On the right-hand side, there would be a sewage pump installed in the loading dock area. That would pump sewage across to the left-hand side, where you see that shaded area, which is an 1,800 square foot sewage treatment building that would be used for pH control of the sewage and other treatment like that. From there, it would be pumped back into the site sewer line and continue as it does to the municipal system. There is no net increase of impervious area on the site, as it's all paved within the area of disturbance. A small portion of the work is within the 100-foot buffer to wetlands to the north of the site. We have received approval from the Conservation Commission a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think. And so we're here tonight for what would have been, I believe, an intermediate site plan approval, apart from the parking waiver that we're seeking. The parking waiver really, while at the discretion of the board, is really trying to essentially correct paperwork. We're not making any site changes. There is less parking on the site today than there was on the approved site plan when it was approved in previous iterations. I think the last approval might have been 2020 or thereabouts. There are 110 parking spaces on the site today, and there would be when this work is done. I believe by zoning or the previous permit, there should be 216 based on the number of employees. Even with the 110, I understand from the applicant that it's almost overparked. They use approximately 60 a day. Many of their employees are bussed in from their other facility in Lynn. So we're seeking that waiver really just to bring the plan, the reality in compliance with the permit. That's really all there is to it. Happy to answer any questions on the application.
Okay. Just a question, just a clarification question before I turn to members of the board. What did you say you believe the required number of parking spaces were? 'Cause we have a different number here. I thought I have somewhere here, based on zoning would be 497 spaces, so I wasn't,
Yes, I think based on zoning, there were two quoted in the waiver. I think 479 based on the square footage.
497.
Or 497, transposing it in my head, I guess, and 216 based on the number of employees that are actually there.
So just to clarify why there's not a discrepancy, but just the line for the use is a little, it's just not completely clear. For the use of assembly processing, it's what Connor is referring to as it says one space per planned employee on the largest shift, which is his 216 number. If you continued with the line, though, but no fewer than 3 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. So that's where, because of the size of the facility being the
165 roughly.
65,000, that's where you get the 497 number, so.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Good, thank you. All right, I'll turn it over to questions by members of the board. And I start with Mike DeCoulis.
No questions, thank you.
Jim Sears.
So just back on the parking, can you just go over, on the site, if we could just, can you bring up the plan regarding where the parking spaces are? Do we have parking spaces in reserve, or is there space for parking spaces? If this building were to change its use, is there, did we have spaces placed in reserve on this? Would there be enough parking if it wasn't this type of use, I guess is my question.
I don't want to speak for, or do you want me to comment?
I mean, I guess if it wasn't this type of use, there'd be the question of what kind of use would it be? Would this building work, or would it be a whole site plan redevelopment? There are striped out spaces, or I guess striped out as a fire lane in front of the loading dock on the right-hand side of the plan. More spaces could be fit there if a new facility wasn't using full-size trucks, it was using 50-footers or something, you could fit parking there. And on the left-hand side of the plan, in behind the sewage treatment area, there is an area that's used for maneuvering, but that, the parking could be placed there if needed too.
Just to add on to that, Jim, so basically, as Connor mentioned, if the use changed or, right, the loading dock or even in the rear of the building, there is the capability or impervious, as we speak, of you could stripe without any real significant change of how the lot is, at least another 50
Yes.
spaces, right, from the 2021 approval. So if something happened in 5-10 years and the use significantly changed, without knocking any building down or, knocking any of the landscaped areas or open, undeveloped spaces on the property, you could fairly easily stripe at least another 50 spaces.
Okay.
Where would those go, Josh? I'm sorry.
Yep, if you look at if you look at the screen, so the loading dock, the loading dock was, not like heavily utilized, like let's just say the loading dock, we had 2 or 3 spaces instead of like the 8 or 12 that are used. You could do 34 spaces here.
I see your cursor, okay.
So like 34 here, which was shown on a plan when they got all this approved in 2021.
Oh, okay.
And then at least another 17, right, Connor, right,
Yeah.
in this area. I have actually, it's on a plan from 2021 that showed exactly where they would be. So it's not even like a hypothetical. It's, at one point they were thinking about even striping them. So yeah, approximately 50.
Okay, and you bus employees in on a daily basis, I guess?
I guess if you go to the microphone. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, if you could go over the operations, just in the hours and shifts.
Sure. So it's.
Could you identify yourself just for the record?
Sure. Nick Katsos, Katsos. I work at Old Neighborhood Foods at 18 Electronics Ave. I reside in Saugus, 23 Summit Road. I'm the facility manager there. I've worked for the company for quite a few years. So we have a lot of cross-trained people from our Lynn plant. We have 500 employees in Lynn and about 150 here presently. And we have 2 buses that leave Lynn at 6 o'clock and 6:10, and they get here about 6:30 and 6:40 in the morning. We have a 3rd bus that comes around 3:45 in the afternoon, and then 2 buses go back to Lynn around 4:30, 4:40. And then that bus that brings the people for the night shift, it goes back to Lynn at 11 o'clock. So I'm not sure exactly how many people. The second shift, probably like 25 take the bus. The 2 buses in the morning, probably a total of like 50, 55 people come. And a lot of the employees carpool, and, 2 or 3 will come up in a car. And there's pretty well a lot of parking in Lynn, even though we have nowhere near the square footage required here. But a lot of people walk or get dropped off also, too, even at the Danvers site. Probably 20, 30 people get dropped off in the morning by their husbands and then picked up at the end of shift. And as Josh said, there's parking in front there. There was supposed to be 34 parking spots in the back. The building will interfere with probably a dozen of those 34. And then there was also 3 or 4 more at the corner where the condenser building is. We just decided not to stripe it because it's kind of hard to make the turn there. And, with people getting in cars, I thought it was a safety issue. So we kind of don't want people spread out. We want to kind them together. It makes it easier for vision coming into the site. It makes it easier to plow. We currently plow snow across from the loading dock where it's not striped, and the back corners, and sometimes where that condenser building is. So until we actually need it, we felt, we didn't want them all spread out.
So do you have a snow storage area on the plan?
There's actually 3. I think you would call it the southeast corner, just on the site that's not striped on the right. That's the left, that's one of them. To the right is more of them. And then the top left-hand corner is where they sort of plow everything to the outside of the lot, and then there's always a pile where the pointer is right now. And then there's a little bit that's driven into the back corner, just because they can't pull it all out.
And what are we processing in the plan?
So nothing is being cooked there. It's either raw meat being sliced and repackaged. We cook cold cuts in Lynn, and they're brought up by truck, and then we slice and package them there. So it's mostly half of it, I would say, is raw stuff that's open. It's not even really, it's taken out of the bag, sliced, and then packaged again. And it's semi-frozen, so there's not too much as far as, process. We do some marinated meats, and that's what kind of brought up some of the problems. So a little history on the site. South Essex Sewer District gave us a permit in 2014, and after 10 years, they looked at what we did for the first 10 years, and they lowered our limits to what we did the first 10 years. And then we started growing, and we took on marinated meats, and then we had all kinds of violations. So the 3 big things are fats, oils, and greases, total suspended solids, and BOD. One, they reduced 34%, 150, and 184% because of our previous not using the whole site. I would say 50% of the building is cold storage. We probably have 5,000 pallets of meat in there that's not touched. And then as far as the first floor, I would say a little better than 50% is manufacturing. The cold storage is 3 levels, so that's how we get so many pallets in. And obviously, manufacturing is 1 level. And then we have dry goods on the second floor and offices. So, in essence, after 10 years, they decided, well, this is what your average was for the 10 years, and that's what they made our new limits. And I really didn't pick up on it until I started getting violation notices, and then I went back and looked, and I guess they had the right to do that. So we have to build a wastewater treatment plant.
Gotcha.
Do you think in the future with AI, will that cut down the number of employees and increase production?
Well, the only way right now we're trying to increase production is more people might work a second shift. The day shift, as far as production space is, there's might be like 10, 15% left that we could add maybe one more line to. And a lot of the lines don't run every day, or, you know, they'll run half a day on one line and then the employees will go. It's a very seasonal business, like marinated meat doesn't sell in the winter. Shaved steak sells more in the winter. Cold cuts are pretty steady throughout the year. We do a huge business for St. Patrick's Day for corned beef. It's seasonal, it's 2 months, you know?
But with the coming of AI and automation, would that potentially
We've
replace some of
automated
these?
some. It could reduce the employees by a few, but I find that you reduce the employees and then you have to increase the maintenance people and the technology people to run it. So
Yeah.
it's almost like a trade-off. It's kind of ergonomically better for the people. So like some of our automated lines have like 10 less people, but the people that are working a lot easier than the people on the manual lines. But it's possible it could.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay. That's good, thanks, Jim. Ian, did you have any questions?
No, I think you both answered any questions I had. So just, you kind of want to rectify the parking to show what you actually have and add the wastewater treatment facility, and I'm okay with both of those.
So that's what we actually have.
Okay.
And I think the previous permit was like 156 and we showed.
You may want to go up to the podium, I'm sorry, just so people,
Yep.
just so people at home can hear you.
So I think the previous waiver was 156 or 160.
I think it was 170.
It was 170? Okay, and we striped 110. And, you know, we can add, obviously, we'll lose probably the 17 where the wastewater treatment plant was. But in the truth of the matter is, there was 5 trailers there, and the 5 trailers are gonna disappear in the buildings, and the 2 tanks are gonna go where the 5 trailers were stored.
How many generators do you have there? in case you
0
lose
right
power?
now.
Really?
Yeah. So it's a cold storage plant. It's well insulated. We've had power outages for a couple of days. You can't work in a power outage, but the coolers, you know, think about it. You got 5,000 pallets of meat and most of it's frozen. It'll go up 5, 10 degrees, but the meat won't really thaw out for days. But we did make provisions where we got one more electrical upgrade we're trying to complete. We have 3 different electrical services on site, and one of it does all the refrigeration. So there is plans, long-term, to put a generator in there to at least keep the stuff cold. So if we were down for more than like 2 or 3 days, it would be a real concern.
Now, would you have to put that outside?
Yes. So right now, we could rent a generator, a trailer generator, and do it. If it went outside, obviously, it's towards the parking towards the building is where it would have to go.
If a generator went outside. If a generator went outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be outside.
Yeah.
Gas powered or?
Right.
Well,
Diesel
gas-powered could be on the roof, or we actually looked into multiple gas-powered generators, and they do it like with small rooftop units. They can go on the roof. They weigh like 3,000 pounds. It's like a Chevy 350 motor, and it would run like a quarter of it, and you'd need 4 of them. The engineers designed it for a diesel generator, which I was kind of dead against because of the tank.
Right.
And then the restrictions, and then you have to run it
Right, you have to
a
practice it.
lot,
Right, right.
and you have to recirculate the fuel. You can't let fuel sit there for like 2, 3 years. You know, you can't run it like 10 minutes a week. And so I'm more inclined with gas, but the initial design was with the diesel generator. And it stored like 2,000 gallons of diesel, and believe it or not, I think the 2,000 gallons was only good for 72 hours. So to me, you'd have to truck in diesel in 3 days, and if you had a big outage, you know, a major outage, I'm not sure you could get diesel.
Have you ever thought of solar? You got a large building.
So we thought of solar, but it adds a lot of weight to the roof. The fire department hates it because they can't shut it off. And the roof, as it is now, has a lot of ammonia piping on the roof, which is flammable at a certain percentage. So to eliminate all the parts of the refrigeration that pose a danger, they're all on the roof. And we have ammonia sensors, so we know when there's a leak in the plant and on the roof. So solar added quite a bit of weight to the building, and the whole building would have to be shored up.
Okay. Thanks.
In terms of questions from me, I don't, I think we got, some of the questions I had, were with respect to sort of snow storage, so the general, operations. So learned a lot about what you all do today. That's always good to know. And I guess in terms of, do you anticipate any, I guess in terms of, I know you said that some of your lines are, are in terms of, seasonal. So obviously like, St. Patrick's Day. Do you, and you might have mentioned this already, but do you anticipate any spikes or valleys in terms of your employees? Or do you generally sort of keep it is it pretty steady at the Danvers location?
So normally, we increase by about 20 people in the summertime.
Okay.
And then we try to just not lay anybody off. We have a tendency of, I don't think we've laid off a person in the history of the company. We try to keep them busy, and we lose them through attrition, and that way. And
A lot of
like-
long-term employees?
Yeah, a lot of long-term employees. A lot of them worked in Lynn for 10, 15 years before they came here. And the other thing is the marinated meat. Skewering is a big thing, putting it on the skewer. We're looking at automation. That adds like 20 people alone. And, we had up to 30, 40 people skewering last year. So we are looking to automate that to cut down the number of employees for that.
Got it.
And since it's a seasonal business, it's hard to hire 40 people and then find a home for them all winter long.
Yeah. And so you don't anticipate any really sort of, change? I mean, obviously, I think you said you're growing, you may have some automation, but you don't anticipate any big changes in terms of operations or number of employees?
No,
Okay. Got it.
maybe
And-
10%.
Right, okay. And sort of, and this is maybe a question just for town staff, just in terms of, Josh, and if we did have, and sort of even picking up on sort of what Jim had raised a little earlier in terms of any sort of real major change in operations of the site. Because this, because what's being sought today is a specific waiver with respect to this, specific plan, whoever would, they would have to come back, isn't that?
Yeah, like if they added, if they wanted to add 20 spaces, they would have to come back to the planning board for site plan approval. If
If
that's,
they add 20,
yeah.
if they want to add 20 spaces, or if they, or if there was, if
But
it,
if they added 5 or 10, they wouldn't need to come back to the board. But the way the site plan setup is, if it was like a moderate type of project, it would have to come back to the board for approval.
right, but a major change though would,
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So anything over 19 spaces, it would be back in front of the board.
as well as a change in use.
Yes, oh, certainly.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
It's too bad you couldn't find another building nearby, and you could do it all here. You wouldn't have to truck everybody over,
Possibly.
in the same complex. Yeah.
okay.
We've looked. There's not much for sale.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any further questions from members of the board?
Nope.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we don't have any members of the public present in the room. Is there anyone who's remote, Josh, who is,
I don't
if we
think I
had
see anyone from the public
Mhm.
who would like to talk or had a question or anything.
Okay. Did we have any, we didn't have any questions or comments from members of the public?
No. No public comments.
Okay. Yeah, again, I don't think I have any further, I don't think I have any further questions. Oh, I guess one thing I did, and this was sort of just in terms of the applicant, just raised this at sort of at the outset, just in terms of, I think you made a question like for partial site plan review, or I'm not sure if that's
He was referring to, so if it was.
interim.
If it was, it's called intermediate, and so if they were just if they're proposing between 1,000 and 999 square feet,
Oh, yeah.
it would just have to go to staff. It wouldn't come to the board.
Okay.
It's just for those like kind of smaller items that just we didn't want necessarily smaller things coming all the way to the board, but staff could review it. But that's parking spaces between 10 and 19, square footage under 2,000. Those are there's a couple like triggers.
Got it.
So he was just referring to, because the wastewater treatment facility was only 1,800 square feet, it would have just come to staff.
Got it. Okay. Very good. All right, I don't think we have anything further from the board. I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made by Jim Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Jean. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing for 18 Electronics Avenue. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, so then moving now to the main matter. I believe we have a motion, so can the clerk, Jean, can you go ahead?
Yep. Site plan review, 18 Electronics Ave. Date of application, September 16th, 2025. Date of hearing, should I change that?
Yes.
October 28th, 2025. Date of decision, October 28th, 2025. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by Democus Propco LLC for property at 18 Electronics Avenue, Assessors Map 32, Lot 49, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plans. Site plans, wastewater treatment, Danvers, Mass., prepared by VHB, dated September 5th, 2025, revised to October 13th, 2025, consisting of 6 sheets. Supporting materials include parking waiver information prepared by BW Design Group and VHB dated August 29th, 2025, revised to October 13th, 2025. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1. Section 4.3.1 title sheet. The existing buildings, land use of each lot, lot lines, zoning district boundaries are not shown on the plan. Existing contours at 1-foot intervals are shown on the site plan, C2.0, and the existing conditions plan of land area 1 and 2, SV1. 2. Section 4.3.2 site analysis plan. No site analysis plan submitted. Existing contours at 1-foot intervals are shown on the site plan C 2.0 and existing conditions plan of land area 1 and 2, SV-1. Wetland boundaries are shown on the overall site plan C-1 and site plan C-2. 3. Section 4.3.3 Dimensional Regulations Plan. No dimensional regulations plan submitted. Lot line is shown on overall site plan C-1. 4. Section 4.3.4 Site Construction Plan. The site construction plan is entitled the overall site plan C-1. Existing contours at 1-foot intervals are shown on the site plan C-2 and existing conditions plan of land area 1 and 2 SV-1. A table indicating the amount of earth material that are to be removed, added, or reused is not shown on the plan. 5. Section 4.3.6 Utilities Plan. No utilities plan submitted. The proposed location and size of new sewer systems infrastructure is shown on the overall site plan C-1 and site plan C-2. 6. Section 4.3.7 Landscape Plan. No landscape plan is submitted. The existing landscaping on the site will remain unchanged and no additional landscaping is proposed. 7. Section 4.3.8 Off-Street Parking and Loading Plan. The off-street parking and loading plan is entitled the overall site plan C-1. Dimensions of driveways are not shown on the plan. 8. Section 4.3.9 Lighting Plan. No lighting plan submitted. The following requirements from the zoning bylaw have been waived. Section 10.1.d Parking. Planning Board waives the parking requirement of 497 parking spaces for a reduction to 110 parking spaces based on the following findings. A. No substantial detriment shall result. B. Any decrease in number of required parking spaces will not create undue congestion or traffic hazards. C. Any such relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the neighborhood. Conditions of approval. The project is subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, this site plan decision shall be recorded at the Southern Essex Registry of Deeds. 2, the applicant will satisfy all the comments in the Danvers Engineering Division memorandum dated October 10th, 2025. 3, if there are any changes to the approved plans, the use, or the conditions on premises, planning staff will review. If deemed a major change by staff, the applicant will have to apply for a new application for site plan review. This project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Any approval of this site plan review shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date.
Okay, very good. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, second by Jim Sears. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay,
Thank you.
you're all set. Good luck. Thank you. Okay. So let's move on to the next agenda item, our meeting minutes. So you all should have received 3 sets of minutes for the, I believe we have a first set of minutes for the June 24th, 2025 meeting. Okay, I believe everybody was in attendance at the meeting. Okay, has anyone has any edits to the June minutes?
Move to accept the minutes of June 24th?
Okay, Jim Sears has moved to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike DeCoulis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, next set of minutes is the minutes from our July 22nd, 2025 meeting. You all had a chance to review them. And I believe we had all members in attendance at that time as well. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Jim Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike DeCoulis. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay. Next and last set of minutes we have are the August 12th, 2025 meeting. You all had a chance to review. And everybody was in attendance as well. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion, assuming no changes, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of August 12th.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Jim Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike DeCoulis. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay. All right, so Josh, what do we have on the, coming up? And just as we mentioned earlier, we do have with respect to upcoming, our next meeting is because of the Veterans Day holiday on November 11th. Our meeting has been moved to Wednesday, November 12th. So thanks, everybody. Everybody should be able to attend
Yes.
on the 12th? Yep. Great.
Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. And then the following meeting after that is November the 25th. So that's the,
That's a regular Tuesday. It's
Regular
the Tuesday before
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Yep. So is everybody planning and should be in attendance for that?
Yes.
Yes, as I will, yep. And then finally, after that, we have I believe the next meeting after that is our December 9th meeting.
That's right.
Yep, and so that's the last meeting of the,
Of the 2025 calendar year, yes.
yep, okay. Everybody, for the most part, should be here for December 9th?
Yes.
Okay.
We just have one meeting in December, so.
Yep, okay, great. And so Josh, what do we have in terms of what's coming up next in
Yeah,
terms of?
So that, the item that one of the items from tonight that got continued, the Raising Cane,
Okay,
200 Endicott Street should very likely be discussed at our next meeting on November 12th. I am trying to figure out with Aaron and other planning staff about very likely having a conversation about the housing production plan. at the November 25th meeting, but probably more likely at that December 9th meeting. And we're just trying to make sure that the consultant is available that night. So that's just,
And we would have a discussion, I guess, so we would have follow-up discussion and questions of the housing production plan. Would we have a vote on that,
I don't
that
think s-
evening, or we would?
no, I think it's
continue
just,
to the
it's
next meeting
because
after?
because it's been such a decent amount of time since the last time we talked about it. I think the idea, and the select board also had to vote on it. I think the idea, when speaking with Aaron about it, was to have a good, robust conversation about it and likely vote on it at a future meeting, but not have too much time in between so that we kind of
Sure.
forget what we talked about.
Okay, got it. And I know, also, we do have we'd also talked about, in terms of, probably would be good also at an upcoming meeting, I think we're either the 12th or the 25th, just an update on any, I know, Josh, you had given a presentation a couple of months back, just in terms of, sort of upcoming
Sure.
sort of planning initiatives
Right.
and sort of where they stand.
Yep. Yep, be happy to do that. And also, at that night or similar conversation, I could just show our calendar for like 2026, and if there was any other issue, bring that up with the group nights that I'd think about. Just setting up the schedule, the meetings for 2026, just making sure that it was good for everybody. We could also discuss that too.
Okay. Yeah, and the first meeting of the new year is,
Is that January 13th, 2026?
got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and in terms of, just in terms of an update, I'd just like to see, like, I know we talked about probably about a half dozen different things in terms of that PowerPoint you'd given. That covered a number of, sort of initiatives where we stood on certain things like, Endicott Street corridor or
Yep.
master plan, that sort of thing, and so I wanted to see sort of where things stood.
Yep, be happy to give an update. I know a decent amount of the decision-making and all those things will be kind of revolve around, we could maybe talk with the town manager about kind of a little bit more definitive, like town meeting dates in 2026, if that's available to us for zoning, planning, zoning amendments, bylaw changes. So that would, once those dates, they might not be clear, but maybe when we talk in the next couple of weeks, I could have a little bit more clarity on some of that kind of higher level things. So
Right. Especially if we have agendas that are not super full, I think it would be nice to be able to have some discussion about
yeah,
some of those, sort of prospectively see where we're heading.
absolutely.
Okay.
Do we anticipate a special town meeting on zoning in '26, or?
That's sort of the question. Not sure at this moment. It very likely wouldn't be, if there was at all, it would likely be in the fall, basically a year from now. And that's probably, as we speak right now, probably the soonest we could probably do some zoning item. That doesn't mean that we can't do some planning and visioning and all that, but just actually amending the bylaw, like the lighting item that we've been kind of discussing for some time now. We wouldn't open up the public hearings for those zoning amendments as we speak at this moment. I'd say the earliest as we speak is like a year from now, or the town meeting would be a year from now.
Is it anticipated that there's a town meeting in February or March, or is it still sort of a TBA?
I think that's a very TBD. But I don't believe what I've heard is that it would likely wouldn't have zoning items on it. It would be particular items that are not zoning related, like other town items that are not zoning.
Like town manager act sort of things, or?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, not zoning.
okay.
And obviously the annual, I think the precedent here is generally we don't, and I don't know if this will change going forward, but what I've been told is that we generally don't do zoning at annual
No.
historically, and
Yeah, we don't have to do it every year. We might do it every couple of years or so.
so.
Although I would like to, after tonight's experience, just wonder if we could adopt a rule of some sort that an applicant knows that they can't continue a hearing for 6 months without, I think we should cap it at 3 months. 90 days is reasonable. I mean, their last meeting, as we just saw in our minutes, was July 22nd. And I don't mean to beat a dead horse on this, but I just think it's not a good precedent. And allowing them almost 6 months to go dormant with no real communication is not a good precedent. It's just allowing them to try to market the property, do whatever they want to do based upon one approval. That's my feeling. Why else? We know that it doesn't make any sense to me that they need all that time based upon paring down 3 units. It just doesn't justify that. It's one thing if they had to redesign the whole building, but they clearly told us they don't, and they're not planning on doing it. They probably spent, I would imagine they spent, at this point, a ton of money to get to where we are, and now they're just gonna tell us to wait. Which is, I think that's offensive. I find it offensive.
Sure.
But, so maybe we can, if the board feels it's appropriate, I know they didn't earlier, but I think we should have some type of, parameter in there that says, okay, if you don't get back to us within 3 months without some, real justification, you gotta come back and reapply. I don't know what anyone thinks about that.
I mean,
I don't think I'm being over. Yeah, I can tell you, I've never seen that.
Yep.
Someone pushing it off, because usually people want to get it done, they want to get a
Yeah.
decision. They've invested all
Yeah.
this time, effort, and money, and, now they're just telling us, yeah, we'll come back
yeah, I mean,
3 more months.
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to go in, I don't know if I want to attribute any motivations at all to,
I think we should be careful, just whatever.
yeah, right.
I'm just talking in general.
Yeah, no.
Any applicant.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Any applicant coming before us, we need to have deadlines. We can't let people just string out the process. And I think, like you said, typically it's 90 days on most of the things that they have to do. And I thought we had some type of, once you make an application, you have this date,
We don't have those dates anymore. We took out the,
It was, yeah.
action date.
yeah. But generally, though, I mean, I think we should be careful, but generally,
Yeah,
I'd
let's
say,
talk in general.
Yeah,
general.
for any applicant. For
yeah.
any applicant off
You
the
know.
street.
yeah, I mean, the significant majority of folks that are just situations that is what happen. It is what happens, right? We don't do long continuances, but yeah, it's something we could talk through in the
Yeah.
future, whatever.
I mean, I'd be fine, in terms of, I would be fine in terms of exploring sort of as looking at just sort of rules in general. I'd be fine in terms of exploring, in terms of that continuances and any sort of good cause that needs to be shown, that sort of thing. I think that's fair. I think looking at this particular case, I don't see this, as, and again, I'm not going to attribute anything with respect to that specific case earlier tonight, but, because there could be a variety of reasons, it could be holidays or something like that, it's this time of year, but in terms of but I think I'm not opposed to investigating or looking into doing some, having some parameters for that. I mean, I know that even practicing before, the court I regularly practice before, you can get a 45-day extension for good cause shown, which is pretty much could be any reason. Once you get past that, you have to show it's a much higher burden. You have to
Substantial.
show extraordinary circumstances. That's not just workload. That has to show that there's something really, going on. So, I'd be. What about others? Jean, any thoughts in terms of?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be good to have some continuity and have a fresh remembrance of what they presented. But also, I mean, if they don't want to get their project done, then we can't really force them. So then I guess that's on them if they don't want to get it approved. But yeah, I would be okay with having some deadlines.
So at least some guidelines in terms of what needs to be shown. Mike, any thoughts?
I agree with what you guys are saying, and then, but also at the same point, like, I agree with Gene a little bit, so I guess, like, playing a little bit on the devil's advocate
Yeah.
side, it's like, why do we care if they push it out? And I'm asking that kind of, like, just curious, like, what are the thoughts on it and stuff like that, like, for, like, the group?
Jim, you've been doing it, you've been on board for a long time. What are your thoughts in terms of?
Just so I
Yeah, I
understand
mean,
more.
I can tell you, I've never seen anyone push it out 6 months. I mean, because, they've expended a lot of money, and now things are gonna, could they run into situations where laws change or regulations change, and, there's a certain, just, like Lou, you go to court, you have deadlines, you have, everything in life is a certain deadline. And now we have no deadline, it's just open-ended, and it just seems kind of an affront to the board. The board wants to make a decision, they asked for a continuance, they didn't, they said basically they were gonna come back with tweaking the site plan, removing those 3 units. They said they weren't gonna change the building, they were just gonna make the space bigger. That doesn't take 6 months, it just,
Yeah, I mean, not speaking again about that specific project, but just in general, if a project, if someone does say something in a meeting, but then they decide to then go redesign something or relay something out, maybe it's just worth getting updates on things so that we have an update, but I don't think I guess on a basis of, to force somebody to come back at a certain time, I don't know. I guess I'd have to understand more and think more about that, because I don't, again, playing like the devil's advocate side of it, because I would like to have the continuance, like Gene said, to like understand what's going on, but how it affects us, I think I need to better understand like what the downside is of saying like you need to give us information by X date or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd be, as I said, I'd be open to having some parameters in terms of continuances and what you need to demonstrate to get there, to get a continuance. If we were looking at, if we're just sort of looking at our guidelines. Josh, you have any further, do you have any thoughts on that, just in a general matter?
Yeah.
Not to put you on the spot, but I'll put you on the spot.
No, I mean, they do have the ability to ask for continuance. Like I said, I believe that the board doesn't necessarily, that's the request. The board could, pick a not as late, we could say, we don't want 3 months out, but we could in future things, maybe 1.5 months seemed more appropriate. I think everything is just, I don't think when you make kind of all-encompassing, not just kind of like rules and regulations, I think there are projects that should just be, they can kind of be handled or administrated like just on one-on-one basis. And I think sometimes it's hard to just, say in this circumstance, in all circumstances, ... I think it just on a project basis.
I think to your point, Josh, too, like, where do you draw the line? So
Right.
if someone does have to go redesign the whole building and we still say you have to come back in 3 months, like, that's not really a realistic time frame. So then, like, when,
Well, yeah, and I think that could be an example for, like if we're looking at even just in terms of like a court sort of thing. I mean, that's something where you could say that could be, that could be an extraordinary circumstance, or that could be something that's not just, that you could, I wouldn't want something to be so utterly strict too, that if something does happen like that, then, yeah, then sure, they can get that additional time, but I think just to have some demonstration of what they're, sort of what they're doing, sort of just to show their work a little more than just, we need additional time. And we can do that if we're looking at procedures of, if you're seeking a continuance beyond a certain period of time, then maybe you need to come in and you need to actually sort of plead the case.
yeah, reasonable cause.
Yeah.
I mean, in your example, sure, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because they still want to do the project, but it's gonna cost, it's gonna take so much more time to redesign the building, but that's not their case, but I think it's fair to us for them to give us a reason.
Yeah.
More detailed reason.
Yeah.
And it could mean that after a certain, maybe beyond a certain period of time, that if they have a, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, if it's over a certain period of time, that they come in. They actually
Yeah,
have to come in and.
like I said,
and
like I
appear
said,
before the board.
I feel like January or whatever. I think we should be careful, but
Yeah. Just talking about in general.
Time standards.
Um,
It's just what you.
yeah.
Deadlines. That's all. Thank you for indulging me.
Yeah,
The horse is dead. We beat it.
okay. Very good. Anything further at all, members of the
To
board?
adjourn.
Oh, we have a motion to adjourn by Jim Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike DeCoulis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Any opposed? None? Okay. Meeting is closed at 8:07.